Welcome to the Minister of, sorry, start again. Welcome to the Ministry of Random Opinions. I am the Right Honourable Minister for Random Opinion. And today I want to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in the news with regards to cyber and cyber attacks. And there seem to have been a few cadences increasing. It looks like there's a shift in the hacker community with various different actor groups at odds. And I think that activity is creating a blast radius in of itself. And we're noticing lots of retailers specifically, but other hacks at the moment that just demonstrate an increase in kind of actor activity. Or they just happen to be pretty high profile ones. The obvious ones that we could talk about, I believe that there was a compromise at Harrods, definitely at Marks and Spencer's and Co-op. They're pretty big UK brands. So they're showcase organisations that are being compromised. Not necessarily one vector, different ways of doing it. But I think what it's throwing up to the business community, or should be throwing up to the business community, is that you can increase and improve your technical defences. Sometimes your people are your biggest vulnerability. They're also your biggest asset. Don't get me wrong. This is not a people hate thing, but social engineering is a thing. Phishing is a thing. Your users, therefore, as they're human beings and they're run by a fixed set of rules, not many, maybe a few, I don't know, it depends where you are on the spectrum. Some are very rules-based and process-driven, but most aren't. And most users, when they're busy, they make mistakes. They do things they shouldn't have done. They take a phone call, they believe what they're seeing. Either that or there's a business email compromise and it looks like their CEO's contacting them, or certainly someone from senior management, and that has an influence on them, and they do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do, or it's a phishing link which is introducing malware at the front end. These are all the things that everyone probably watching this will know and love and have talked about forever. It's a very difficult thing to control, that boundary, and there have been lots of different technological support mechanism to kind of try and eradicate the vulnerability, and it doesn't work. Most of the time you're going to have to think about other things about cultural adoption of cyber and kind of an understanding of how to spot something that stops you doing it. I think, for us as humans, I think these are good skills, life skills that we should take on board anyway, given that we mostly run in a kind of digital environment, and our children more so, right? So I think growing up, and I'm hoping actually as children grow up and they're more used to technology, they're more used to the digital environment, that they start to understand what looks good and what doesn't look good. They're less able to be socially engineered. I hope my kids are. But I think that's fine. You put your defences in place, but when someone gets past those defences, it's really critical to, one, spot the compromise, two, respond to the compromise. Incident response is critical. What I'm noticing, and I guess this is for people that are kind of founders, people who are business leaders, who don't necessarily think that what they see as a technical subject in cyber lives in the boardroom, and actually it should live in the boardroom. And there should also be, measures taken by organisations to consider digital incident response, in the same way as they see traditional disaster recovery. And that should be that they have a plan that caters for a certain number of scenarios, obvious scenarios, or scenarios specific to your organisation that you believe may be enacted, that allow that organisation to have a plan that they can quickly respond and reduce the blast radius of an attack, especially around the critical function. So anything that keeps that business alive, or anything that keeps that organisation functioning, if it's a government organisation or not-for-profit or whatever, that those organizations know exactly what to do should a scenario arise. Clearly, it doesn't always cater for 0-day, different attacks and different attack methodologies, and different geopolitical landscapes, but having something that you can exercise and mobilize your business around, that they are well practiced and well versed, a well practiced organization, as has been observed, even if the incident that occurs doesn't follow a standard scenario, they are more ready to respond. So incident response is key. And then I guess recovery. I think we're seeing it with M&S, unfortunately, who are finding it difficult to recover certain services. Those are customer facing. There's been some data loss, and I think data is lost into the dark web kind of a daily basis. I think it's kind of more of a river than it is a stream, and so I don't think data regulation is helping. I think people find workarounds, which they naturally do. Again, it's the human element. People find workarounds if they find barriers to doing things simply. Again, that's sped up by conditions, really, employment conditions. People are busier because employers take on less people because it's more costly to take on those people as wages rise, etc., etc. As the cost of living grows. They look for profit by reducing the headcount, but with the same amount of workloads. That makes people busier, more likely to make mistakes. I'm not saying that business practice is right or wrong, by the way. If you're protecting a profit margin, that's your call. It's your business. I'm not judging, but it does happen. And as people are busier, they do make more mistakes, and they are more likely to click on links, and they are more likely to do the things you don't want them to do. But more importantly, humans become conditioned to repeat training. If you make incident response and muscle memory for your organization, then that's great. Equally, it's I'm rambling on this a little bit. Sorry, I've gone back over old ground, and I've just realised that's what happens when I let my mouth go. But then also, if you look at recovery, then recovery needs to be quick. Now, that does mean sometimes spending extra cash. If you rent redundant systems or resilient systems, you want to be able to flick over to the next good backup and be able to continue trading. There's a cost compromise, or there's a service compromise in the backup estate. If you can't afford a like for like, you can't do a complete redundancy solution, because having two systems instead of one seems to be wasteful. In the off chance that you get hacked, by the way, you could very well, especially if you've got a good big name. But if you can't do full redundancy, then you need to think about what is service levels acceptable and implement that, because it might have impact on performance, but at least you have access for your customers. Not having access for your customers will seriously harm your revenue stream. This is not a cyber issue. And people need to stop thinking about it as a cyber issue. This is a business issue. This is a continuity issue. And as a business, you should take that very, very seriously. Defend where you can. Maximum defense around your critical function. Have the ability to detect quickly. Have the ability to respond quickly to reduce the blast radius and the damage that compromise causes to your environment, your digital environment, and recover quickly. Provide a level of service for your customers. If you have to apologize for the level of service, that's fine, as long as they can have access. It's nothing more frustrating for a human trying to buy from you, than not being able to buy from you, especially if they've already made a decision to purchase. Right? If they haven't and they want to just look around your site and it's down, hey, that's one thing. If they want to buy something and they can't, that pisses them off when they can't. And that's something that business leaders should take very, very seriously. That's a revenue, it's a brand risk issue, and that's a revenue issue. I'm kind of ranting. I've gone over myself a few times as my head works that way. But if you don't know whether you're ready, you should test. Test, assess, Get someone in to come and have a look at how it's done. Work alongside your security team. Create a plan to make sure that it's as resilient as it possibly can be, that you have the ability to respond quickly, you have the ability to recover quickly. Understand your position and your risk right now, and then make the decision to spend money on it. Don't spend money without knowing where you're spending the money, what you're spending the money on. I can't impress on that enough. Equally, take an assessment or exercise to understand the waste in your organization. Understand where there's duplication in controls. Understand where there are unnecessary controls, and streamline your security approach to reduce the total cost of ownership, or at least be able to invest more and maintain the same total cost of ownership. Save to buy, or save to spend. It's one I try and advise people when I'm talking to them, if they listen to me. But it's interesting, and I felt like I needed to kind of take this commentary down to a really simple level, because actually ultimately the drivers, the people that will literally, move the needle on this from the perspective of, digital security in their organizations, so the leadership team, you have a responsibility to do that, not just for your customers, but also for your employees. And you should make sure that these things are covered. And it doesn't take an awful lot to do that. But what it does start with is a good assessment to understand where your organization is right now, where it needs to be, what it can do on the way to streamline its services and improve its service level, and do all the things that we've only just talked about. That's it. I'm going to cut off my inane drivel there. I hope this kind of, at least, this is my opinion, right? And this is the Ministry of Random Opinions. We do talk about cyber quite a bit because that's my background, but, comment, like, subscribe, follow, have a say. If you think I'm wrong at a basic level, then tell me. If you think I'm right, also tell me, and support this message. And if you're a business owner, reach out, because you need to think about how you're going to do this. That makes sense for your business, shareholder value, and profit margins. That's enough of that. Like, subscribe if I haven't already said. I think I just did say that. And have a great day.